For the first time in 18 years, McIntyre will have a new city councillor after this fall's municipal election. One of the people putting their names forward is Wesley Ramage. Wesley, just tell us a little bit about why you decided to run.
The reason why I decided to run is 100% because of my family. Wholeheartedly, I just want to see Thunder Bay develop into a city that my kids can call home. My kids will want to stay here. They have the desire to stay here. They have jobs that are available to them here. Taxes aren't out of control for them here. All those kind of things that really have shaped my platform are essentially the reasons why I want to run. And I mean, obviously, it's not just for my kids. It's for the future of Thunder Bay as a whole. But that's certainly my inspiration.
Just tell me a little bit about your background and what's led you to seeking this political office.
I've always had an interest in politics, actually. I've always found it kind of interesting. I did run 4 years ago. I came in second place, and that was an incredible experience. And to be honest, for the last 4 years, I've just been waiting and waiting and waiting because I wanted that experience again. But I like having a say. I like having a knowledge of what's going on, and I like having a little bit of an input of what is going on. So with my background, I am a teacher, is my full-time job. And I spend a lot of time doing volunteer stuff within teaching and within the community as well. And I like taking on those leadership roles. I like taking on the role of being a president of the North McIntyre Rec Center, or the Grand Knight of the Knights of Columbus Council that I'm part of, different things like that, and just being able to be part of the process of moving things forward.
As you mentioned, 4 years ago, you ran, finished runner-up to longtime incumbent Trevor Gertuga, who's shifting to run in the at-large race this time around. What did you learn on the campaign trail 4 years ago, and how do you think that's helped prepare you for this time?
I think I learned a lot about just how to interact with people. Right, going door to door is an interesting thing to do. It's not certainly not for everyone. I make the joke all the time too that you have to like dogs, because so many people have dogs, and dogs come running out the door, and you have to not be scared, obviously. But no, I learned a lot last time about just talking to people, and I think more importantly than talking to people is just listening to them.
You talked. Sorry.
Oh no, sorry. So many people have something to say, or concern that they want to share, and just giving them the time to share that, and not impose your views necessarily on them.
Have you felt like city councils in the past have been receptive to citizens, just from your own experience?
Yes and no, certain things, and I mean, I guess it varies as well with the different councillors, right? I hear different stories from different people, and I mean, there obviously could be different situations that have arose for people personally, but the general consensus that I hear overall is that when someone does get called, if they respond, they usually try to at least look into things.
You talked about having a forward-thinking vision and a long-term vision for the future of Thunder Bay. What are some ways that you think the next city council could create opportunities for our current youth?
Well, I think a lot of it is, like with the youth side of things, is to find activities for them to be doing, right? And that has a snowball effect in the sense that if a kid can find something to be engaged with when they're younger, certainly going to be hopefully less likely to get into things like crime and stuff like that, or drug abuse or addictions, any kind of social service issues like that. So I think that the city should be doing more things to help those youth. Things like building the splash pad in County Park, I think, was a terrific thing. Things like keeping Heath Park Pool open, Dees Pool, stuff like that, where kids have access to activities to do when they have downtime, certainly helps things like that. In addition to the youth, making sure that we have services going forward, and making sure that we have job creation in Thunder Bay, I think, is part of my forward-thinking approach as well. I certainly want to make sure Thunder Bay is a place where jobs are available, and good-paying jobs that'll make people want to stay in Thunder Bay.
What do you think are some ways the next council could create that more friendly business climate here?
And I mean, not without knowing all the policies and procedures and things like that, the first thing that comes to my mind is attracting those new businesses by offering them a little bit of a discount. Give them, say, if you come to the city, we'll give you a discount on your taxes for, X amount of years, let you get established, let you get set up, make sure you're settled, and then, then you can continue to start paying the regular taxes, because at the end of the day, getting a percentage of taxes is better than a business not being here at all even, right? And not to mention the trickle-down effect of creating jobs and creating a better economy overall with more employment.
What are you hearing within the McIntyre ward about the key issues in that part of the city?
So the key issues that I'm hearing in the McIntyre ward revolve around safety. There's just, I think, a little bit of a sense with some of the stuff that happens in the city that maybe it's not as safe as it could be. Certainly a little bit more police enforcement for some things would be appreciated. And I know that they're ridiculously busy, so it's a matter of maybe working with them to find out how we can alleviate that burden. Safety as well in the sense of transport trucks coming down Dawson Road. I hear about the transport trucks all the time. The safety concerns around that they are running lights or going too fast, things like that, as well as using the county fair parking lot as a truck stop. That's the one I probably heard about 15, 20 times in the last couple of days, being that that's the area that I was in. But yeah, so cleaning up things like that, and in the rural areas of the ward too, there's issues with the dirt roads. People want to see them either maintained properly, or chip sealed or paved, or whatever the solution might be there, but certainly taken care of, because some of them are after a grading, just the dust clouds when people drive down them, things like that, that people have talked to me about as concerns.
For a number of years, the city's explored implementing a designated truck route bylaw that would keep those transport trucks off Dawson Road. Are you in favor of that type of action?
Yeah, I am, and I know the city council has referred it back to more consultation. I am certainly in favor of it, and that being said, I'm well aware of some of the issues that might revolve around it as well, as there are a number of businesses along Dawson Road or shortly off Dawson Road that access transport trucks all the time, gravel companies and stuff like that, that would need to have access still. So it would just be making sure that bylaw is written in an effect that doesn't hurt those businesses that we have in our community. Because as I was saying before, I certainly wouldn't want to hinder a business that's trying to promote Thunder Bay and trying to create jobs in Thunder Bay.
McIntyre is a pretty unique ward, just with its combination of traditional urban residential areas, but the semi-rural areas as well. How do you balance the concerns from people living in those urban residential areas and people that are living in those areas that aren't full city service?
You're right. I mean, it's a vast ward too. I mean, it's ridiculously big. So it is a balance, and I mean, the fact that I live almost in the middle of those really residential areas and the rural areas gives me a good feel for both, I think. I come to the city all the time, and I see the concerns that are there, and then I live out on one of those dirt roads, and I see those concerns all the time too. So the fact that I am, a resident and that I see those problems every day, I think is probably one of my strongest point of views that would be able to be brought forward.
One of the things you mentioned was the quality of road maintenance in those semi-rural areas. Just what is it like in some of those areas of the city to drive on, and how would you like the city to address that differently?
Well, so I mean, I think the solution's already been talked about, and it's just a matter of implementing it. Some of the roads that come to mind are Tom's Road, Community Hall Road, Government Road, once it gets to the dirt part of it. The concerns are that is when it is graded, they might not be going as deep as they could be, possibly, is what I've heard, and afterwards they aren't putting the calcium on it fast enough, which again is kind of a catch-22, because they have to wait a certain amount of time, and if it rains or if there's a certain weather, they can't do things. But essentially what happens is it creates a lot of dust and debris that's flying. So when people are walking down those streets, because even though they're rural roads, families are still using them, people are still using them for walking, exercise, all those kind of things, so they are still used. It's just, dust clouds kind of come up, and with Tom's and Community Hall, there's also a lot of like washboards, especially in the corners. And the solution, from what I've heard for that, is to make sure that they are proper. There's the proper substrate put underneath those roads. So to fix them properly, they actually have to dig up the whole road and then put new gravel down, fresh couple feet of gravel, fresh top gravel, and then they should be able to even chip seal them. Because right now, I guess from what I've heard and read, is even if they chip seal those kind of roads right now, it won't last. It'll just fall apart.
Do you believe that should be a priority for the city, granted the costs that would be required to do that kind of work for the number of vehicles and users of those roads?
Yeah, I do think it should be a priority. I think if you can kind of compare different wards and stuff like that, our ward being a little bit more unique, my ward being a little bit more unique, it should be a priority. I'm not saying that they would all have to be done in the next year or two, but it should be something that we're continuing to work towards. And I know that some of the roads have started to be chip sealed, So I would like to see it be continued in that sense to eventually get them all to a drivable state where, like I said, people can use them on a regular basis without there being any other concerns.
Excellent. Wesley, thank you very much for sitting down with
Hey,
me
you're
and
very
taking
welcome.
the time.
Thank you so much.
All the candidate profiles for the fellow contestants in McIntyre, as well as across the city in the ward at-large mayoral races, can be found on the Thunder Bay Vote section of the tvnewswatch.com website.